There's a rocking chair carved from old oak wood, a tin sign saying life is good. Mason jars and candles warm in your palm. Everything whispers Susie's home.
Welcome to Susie on the Farm, where handmade dreams come true. From thrifted treasures to crafty creations, there's always something beautiful in the making. So come on in, feel the heart, and let your creativity bloom.
For our first project today, I picked up this cutting board a long time ago, and I had previously stained it using some antiquing wax, and I had sat it in a vignette in the store. Well, it's never sold, and I think it's time for an update. So first of all, I took it outside and I sprayed it with 2 coats of shellac. I think I have finally got this crackle effect on the milk paint just like I want it. I'm using what I had left of a little bit of Sweet Pickins, and I think this is the color Willow. I can't remember, and I already threw the pack away, but I added a little bit of Fusion Vintage Laurel into it, and we'll get into mixing some milk paints here a little bit later. But I ended up doing 3 coats, and I dried each coat in between with my little craft heat gun here, and the crackle is amazing. It's not dry yet, but look at all the crackle that's already showing up. So once it did get completely dry, when you milk paint, you'll have a rough texture. I like to smooth all that texture out, so I'm taking a 220 grit sandpaper and giving it a good sand all over. That'll get any loose flecks that there may be and get it really smooth. Once I did that, I got all the sanding dust off with a wet rag and let it dry again. And now I'm taking the beautiful Rose Botanical. This is the only page I had left, and this is the large rose. This is like an entire page from the IOD Transfer Rose Botanical. I was a little concerned rubbing it onto milk paint, but it came off like a dream, didn't lift any paint. Once I got finished, I burnished it really good with my hands. And now I know you've heard of the Sweet Pickins dark oil wax. I didn't have any of that, but what I did have was some of this Fusion stain and finishing oil, and I use it a lot on furniture just to give it a really cool effect on the furniture, but I've never used it like this over milk paint. And it smells like and acts just like that dark oil wax, so I thought it would work. And it did, y'all. It really filled in all of that crackle, brought everything to full attention, and the color absolutely turned out amazing. I let it sit for a few minutes, and then I wiped all of the excess oil back, let it dry, and y'all, this turned out amazing. I'm loving doing this milk paint effect, and I love the way that it makes all of these items look so old and like they've just been this way forever. So now I'm sure that this large cutting board, which is now a decor board, will sell. And look at that crackle, y'all. We're about to do some more of it and some different milk paint colors. So hang in here with me. For our next project, I picked up this set of 4 canisters recently at the thrift store. I've also already taken them outside and gave them 2 good coats of shellac. Now I'm going to mix up some milk paint. I've almost used all of both of these packs, so I know I want to use all of them, but I'm using my little measuring bowl there just to make sure that I know how much water to put in them. So this is Vintage Laurel mixed with Velvet Palm, and it looks like I did 3 Velvet Palm and 2 of the Vintage Laurel. So that means I need to put in 5 little scoops of water. I'm just using a water bottle that I had sitting on my table that I had never finished. So once I get all the water in, I'm going to take my little milk paint whisk. And I do have the Fusion milk paint, the little whisk. available on SusieOnTheFarm.com. I gave it a really good mix up, and then I let it sit for about 5 minutes. And now I'm going to come back and I'm going to paint each and every one of these canisters, and y'all, look at that coverage. So milk paint's so easy to paint with because of how thin it is, but you would really be surprised at how good the coverage is. So I went over all of these with one coat and then dried in between coats with my heat gun. And then I came back and did a second coat on all of these, and the second coat really did the trick. These still had the Big Lots tag on the bottom, and these were brand new, had never been used. I went ahead and painted the lids and everything to make these all one color. And y'all, this color reminds me a little bit of Fusion French Eggshell or even DIY Apothecary. And it doesn't come out absolutely right in this video, but look at that crackle. And this paint is on there to stay. So like I said previously, milk paint has a little bit of a rough texture, and I love to make it smooth. So I'm taking a 220 grit sanding block. I'm getting off any loose paint, which there really wasn't much. That shellac really helps hold this milk paint on. So I'm getting off any loose paint, like I said, and just evening out all that texture, making it super smooth, and it feels so good to the touch. Now I wiped all the sanding dust off. That's a very important thing if you're going to put transfers on. Make sure you get rid of all of that sanding dust. I just use a wet rag and then let it dry naturally. Now I'm taking... Okay, so there is Ephemeral Melange and there is Seed Catalog. They're both very similar transfer books, but I wanted to use all of the seed images, so I may have got some from one just to make sure that they fit on these canisters. And they went on so easy. I burnished them in with my hands, and then I will take that 220 grit sanding block and just lightly go over the image. I don't want it to look brand new when I have just spent all that time aging up these canisters. So I've tried to pick some of the images, like you'll have the seed packs that actually have a border and everything around them. For these, I picked the images that really didn't have a border, so they wouldn't be just like a rectangle on these canisters. And they really transferred quite easy. And the colors of these roses from this transfer with that beautiful, I don't know, I guess it's like a blue-green. I cannot get the color to come out. So I'm using some of that Fusion. I can't get the colors to come out in the pictures or the video. So this is the Fusion Stain and Finishing Oil. This is a different color. This one's called Driftwood. The other one, in case I didn't mention before, was Cappuccino, if you want to get that one, the darker one. So this is Driftwood, and it's a light gray color, and I wanted to try it out over this milk paint color. This will seal in my transfer. It will seal in that milk paint, and it also will settle in those tiny little crackles and really bring out that effect. So I covered all of the canisters in the oil. I let them sit for just a little bit. Basically, while I was finishing them up, I just did it in the same order. You could let it sit longer and then come back and wipe off the excess. It wipes off those transfers beautifully, but it just perfectly changes the tone and the feel of that paint underneath. And y'all, these may be my absolute favorite thrift store makeover I have ever done. I really can't get how beautiful they are to come through in the pictures and the video. You'll really have to see for yourself. I'm actually probably going to list these separately. If you do want to get one, they'll be available on SusieOnTheFarm.com. And I really, really hate to let go of them. So I definitely will be recreating this a lot because I am in love with them. always love picking up at the thrift stores are these tissue holders. This one was ceramic, had a couple of chips, so I knew it needed to be painted. It was shiny, but I have already sprayed it with shellac. And then I mixed up this Fusion Milk paint in the color Gotham Gray. And y'all, I'm amazed by the coverage of milk paint. If you haven't tried it, you really should, because it's so easy to paint with. I painted that first coat in just a couple of seconds, and look at the crackle. I did dry it with the heavy duty heat gun, and the crackle is already amazing. So I did a second coat and dried it again, and here is what we have. Now I'm going to take my little finger sander and make sure I get all of that texture smoothed out and get any little flecks of the milk paint off and just really smooth it out good. Once I've done that, I started to come back with some finishing oil, but I really love that you could see that dark underneath. I didn't want to change any of the colors, so instead, once I get it all sanded down smooth, I am going to go ahead and put my transfer on, and for that, the rooster from the Saint Trois transfer fits so perfectly and looked so amazing with that gray color. It was easy to transfer, only took a couple of seconds, and if you have never tried one of the IOD transfers, you really got to do it. They're so amazingly high end. They go on so easy, and they look like they have always been part of the project. So once I got this handsome, angry little rooster attached, I decided just to seal this one up with some Big Top, because that transfer and that milk paint all needs to be protected. I let it dry, and this one is done, and I'm in love with it. These sell really well for me. These little tissue boxes, everybody wants to dress up their tissue, and this one's no exception. It's listed at susieonthefarm.com if you're interested, along with all the other flips for today and all the paint and products that you need to do your own thrift store makeovers. I hope if you haven't tried milk paint that this inspired you to go ahead and give it a try. Get you this beautiful crackle that I'm so obsessed with. Thank y'all so much for watching. Here's another peek at all of our flips for today, and I will see you guys again next time.